Hi guys, please subscribe to this channel and like the video to support my project, and we are starting a new adventure. Have you read Schindler's Ark, a historical fiction book published by the Australian novelist Thomas Kenley? If yes, you should know the story of Oskar Schindler, a member of the Nazi Party who became an unlikely hero by saving the lives of 1,200 Jews during the Holocaust. This story follows actual people and events. Today, we will visit the Oskar Schindler Factory Museum. This museum is located in Krakow and is dedicated to the life history of Jews who were saved from death by the German industrialist Oskar Schindler during the Nazi occupation. During the period between the two world wars, in this place was located the Krakow factory for the production of wires, mesh and metal products of Władysław Kaczmarski. In 1936, three wealthy Krakow Jews rented several production workshops from the plant and also bought an empty plot of land at the future address Lipowa 4. In the same year, the new owners built a plant for the production of animal wear. The new enterprise was named First Malopolska Factory of Animal Wear and Metal Products Record. In the fall of 1939, the factory for the production of metal utensils, located at Lipowa Street 4 in Krakow, was declared bankrupt. Management passed to the German industrialist Oskar Schindler. He increased its capacity and expanded its range. They began to produce animal cookware. In 1943, a military department was organized at the factory, which produced products for the Wehrmacht, blanks for artillery shell fuses. For the first days, Polish worked in production, but with the outbreak of the Second World War, Schindler began to use Jews as labor, whose labor was practically free. Every day they were taken to work from the Krakow ghetto, and after its liquidation, they were taken to the concentration camp in Plaszow. People there were kept in a terrible condition, and many unable to bear it, and they died. Therefore, Oskar Schindler built special barracks for living on the territory of his factory, and then, using his connections, was able to transport his workers to them. When the front line approached, the question arose about moving production. As a result, it was taken to the city of Brunlitz, today Bzenec, in the Czech Republic. At the same time, Schindler complied a list of necessary workers who continued to work at the factory until their liberation on May 8, 1945. In total, Schindler managed to save about 1,200 people from death in the concentration camp. The factory's production premises were used for their intended purpose until 2007. In 2010, a museum was opened in the factory building. Its exhibition is divided into several topics, the key ones being the war, the life of the Krakow ghetto, the history of the factory, the biography of Oskar Schindler, the role of Krakow as the administrative center of the general government, and the daily life of citizens during the occupation. The interiors of the building do not correspond to the events that took place here in the past. During the long-term operation, its premises were repeatedly renovated. However, the exhibits from the Second World War and the atmosphere of the museum vividly convey the entire tragic history. This exposition symbolizes the hallway in a typical Polish apartment building from September 1939. There is a baby stroller in the corner, and illuminated apartment mailboxes convey tragic news from the fronts. In this hall, you can see a photograph of German soldiers erecting a swastika over Krakow. There are also dozens of photographs of the city and its inhabitants posted here. Behind the imitation of the bookstore windows are visible German publications and portraits of Adolf Hitler. Also here you can see a life-size model of the front part of the Krakow tram car. The next hall is dedicated to the occupation period of 1939-1945 and tells the story of the terror against the Polish intelligentsia. Here you can see an imitation of the lecture hall of the Jagiellonian University in Krakow, in which on November 6, 1939, members of the professorial board were convicted and arrested by deception. Here you can see a post-war model of lecture benches from the 1930s with a professor briefcase, as well as a real teaching chair from the late 19th century. Immediately behind the chair we can see a model of the back of the truck, in the likeness of which prisoners were taken out. There are also photographs of that time and life stories of the arrested professors on display. And this is an enlarged copy of the Krakow newspaper with a photograph of Hans Frank, the former lawyer of Adolf Hitler, who was appointed governor of one of the three administrative divisions in the territory of conquered Poland. The newspaper announced Frank's official arrival at Wawel Castle on November 7, 1939, from where he will exercise control. Against the wall stands one of the museum composters, where a small cardboard card can be stamped with the date and, in this case, an imitation of a document dated on September 1, 1940. This part of the exhibition conveys the violent measures that the occupation authorities carried out to completely subjugate the Polish and Jewish population of the city. Also, photograph of the prison and a simulation of the death row, one of the most sinister places in the city and the first place of mass executions. The photographs depicted the execution of civilians, in particular by hanging right on the streets of Krakow. Here you can see elements of everyday life in the city at that time. Here, for example, is a real-size model of the internal structure of a Krakow tram car. Simulated carriage windows show synchronized newsreels of everyday life in Krakow. Here you can see the installation of the central railway station of Krakow. This is the train schedule. Sign at the door with window indicates the passage to platform number 1, and another sign indicates the descent to platform B. We see a sign symbolizing the decree of March 3rd, 1941, which ordered a creation of a Jewish ghetto in Krakow in the Podgorze area, with a mandatory resettlement of the Jewish population there by March 20. And here, the atmosphere of overpopulated ghetto areas was recreated, where up to several families could live in one room. Now we find ourselves in the secretariat of Oskar Schindler, which was located here during the operation of the animal wear factory. The composition of Schindler's secretary is recreated on the table, which includes a head, desk, lamp, typewriter, telephone, composter, and director call button. The items are not original. You can see names of former factory employers who managed to survive the Holocaust. Then we can see imitation of shop windows of that time and plunge into the life of Krakow during the occupation. Here, we find ourselves in the modestly furnished home of Polish underground fighters. Throughout the entire period of occupation, dozens of prohibited organizations, groups, and meetings operated in the city. The action to liquidate the Krakow ghetto was carried out by the German administration on March 13-14, 1943. Labor and then the Plaszow concentration camp became the place where 8,000 residents of the Krakow ghetto, recognized as fit for future labor, were forcibly driven. The most remarkable part of this exhibition is the original Plaszow Gate, which is preserved here today as part of the exhibition. Large crushed stones are scattered on the floor in the room to create the impression of a labor camp. Here we can see the atmosphere of a hair salon in Krakow in 1944. This is an imitation of a basement. Here we can get an idea of the conditions in which the surviving Jews of Krakow were hiding, and whom, under the threat of their own death, hiding the Polish citizens. This is a kind of memory hall. On the marble walls in English, Polish, and Hebrew are quotes, stories, biographies of people who opposed the German occupation, saved the innocent, and fought for freedom. Here we can see portraits of people saved by Oskar Schindler. That's all for today. I thank you for your attention. Please subscribe to my channel and like the video, and see you in new interesting places.